Hello, Dan Alasso with History for Today. This semester, in addition to trying to run my classes in a high-flex format as we came out of the COVID lockdown, where students would have really unprecedented flexibility to choose the mode of interaction that they were most comfortable with, I also tried using an Obsidian Vault to house my reading content. Previously, I had been using an open educational resource, an OER ebook that I had written, and this semester I transferred that to a vault and divided it into bite-sized pages, added questions for discussion to each, and made the whole thing available to my students in a private Dropbox folder. Early this week, I loaded the last batch of chapter content into the class vault for my modern world history students this semester. The vault is now pretty much populated with all the content from my OER textbook, along with some additional background information pages on specific topics, some of them written by the students for extra credit. There are 14 weekly chapter folders, which each have an average of about 10 pages of main content in addition to the additional linked pages, because each of these pages has links to additional information, names of people, places, things that the students should know something about. Many of these I've added pages for. Some others I've left empty so that the students could actually add the information themselves. By looking at the graph, I and the students can see how the different pages connect with one another. In some cases, this is through a next page or a prior page link that I put at the bottom of each of the content pages to facilitate navigation. In many cases, however, this is because ideas such as wheat or the Columbian Exchange or the Ottoman Empire appear in a number of different places during the text and during the course this semester. And we can use the graph to visualize these connections. The big gray nodes are the most connected pages of content. The tan nodes are the students' hashtags, which they use to mark their answers to the questions for discussion at the end of each page, as well as to mark pages that they themselves have contributed to the vault. I can click on a student's node to open a search window on the left that will show me all of their activity. And this helps me to get a sense of what a particular student is focusing on in the course content, and also, of course, to grade them for their participation and for answering questions. Next semester, I think I will try this again with modern world history, since I'll have the head start of being able to copy and redeploy this vault instead of needing to add each chapter in and format it. I will be able to devote more of my prep time to making additional reference pages, to making videos, things like that. And as I've been thinking about the equivalence of modes that HighFlex offers, where I'm trying to make my students' experience and learning outcomes similar whether they attend in person, remotely on Zoom, or asynchronously online, I've been thinking about trying to emulate that with my course materials. If the stuff that I'm telling them in the lectures was also available for them on video, podcast, ebook, or in this interactive Obsidian Vault, then there will be more chances for my students to find the format that engages them and works for their particular learning style, or the combination of formats that will help them reinforce their understanding and do the repetition work that they'll need to remember. I'm going to be learning more about retrieval and repetition this summer, so I'll have a chance to try some of those theories out. I'll also begin much earlier in the semester, having the students add pages themselves. One of the things that I thought was potentially quite powerful was the ability that students would have to be authors of information in the vault, as well as just consumers of it. I think this could be transformative for history and social studies majors, but also very meaningful for general education students. The idea that knowledge, especially historical knowledge, is a joint construction created by a dialogue between a text and a teacher and a student might help them become more active participants in their learning and in understanding history and even their present world around them. Helping to add to the vault of information might be a useful way to reinforce this idea. We could start very early in the semester in small group activities and then maybe move to pairs. And by the end, I could be asking students to add pages individually. 30 students producing an average of 5 pages each would be an additional 150 pages of content. That could cover a lot of topics. I wonder if there is an analogous activity that I can have the students do if they're unable to access the class vault. As you noticed, I didn't have 30 students using Obsidian this time. Many of them didn't have the right technical capabilities. Hopefully that will get better as things like the mobile version of Obsidian become available. But even so, if they don't have access to the class vault, maybe a website with additional wiki-style pages might be appropriate. Although I have to say, I don't necessarily feel that the students who can't access Obsidian need to have an experience that tries to simulate Obsidian in an older technology. I think it is different, so the students will have a different learning experience, and kind of that's that. I think learning outcomes can be equivalent without the experience being identical. It may be a little bit challenging having students who are participating in different ways in the class, but I think that that has been the case for quite a while now. And acknowledging that and kind of dealing with it on the front end and deliberately, I think is probably just going to help me out. So I will have more to say about that as I continue this process. But I thought people might like to get a glimpse of how the Obsidian experience worked out for me this semester. I think it was a pretty unqualified success for the students who were able to use it. Now I just have to expand that group. So hope people found that a little bit interesting. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again next time.